This is 1534 Sports. I'm Landry.
I'm Bryce.
And I'm Winston.
Welcome to the show.
So we're starting a podcast and a YouTube channel, mainly to talk about tech sports.
And we're also going to talk about more overlooked sports news that like ESPN and Bleacher Report don't really look at.
And during most nights on our Twitter page, we will be live tweeting one or two significant games for that night, depending on how the schedule looks.
And you'll be able to follow us on everything. We'll have our Twitter handles and Instagram in the description below.
I don't deny there's some strange evolutionary process going on, but mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that evidence.
So let's talk about the big news for Monday, February 25th, the Kansas State game, which pretty much it helps decide the Big 12 regular season champion.
Yeah, it did because Kansas State is on top of they were on top of Tech by one game and Kansas 2 games, and so this game it helped decide who's going to take the lead. Like if Kansas State won, then they get a pretty good lead on Tech, but with Kansas winning, that still keeps everything close between Kansas, Tech, Kansas State, and even Baylor is still in the mix with that too.
Yeah. So right now, Tech's only a half game back, I believe, right, Landry?
Yeah.
Yes. So right now, Tech just needs to win that OK State game to equal things out.
So yeah. I have the standings pulled up right now. Kansas State is on top with an 11-4 record in the conference, and then Tech, who plays Wednesday the 27th against Oklahoma State. They're only half game back with a 10-4 record. Kansas, of course, play Kansas State tonight, which puts them at 10-5, so a game back behind Kansas State. And then Baylor, I can't remember who they're playing, but they're a game and a half back at 9-5. And then Iowa State, who they beat Oklahoma tonight, which put them at 9-6, so they're 2 games back from Kansas State.
Yeah.
So really,
there's a lot. Yeah.
It's up in the air on who the Big 12 champ's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anyone's game. I feel like whoever wins out
this next
towards
year.
the top. I mean, Tech still has Oklahoma State, TCU, and then Texas left, which I feel like that's Tech can do that. They can win out.
A little bit of easier schedule compared to.
But you never know because with the Big 12 anyone can win,
especially
any
with
night.
Iowa State in Iowa State. That's a tough place to play every year. So no matter what, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, that'll be a really tough one. I feel like that game for Tech will be the deciding, if Tech can win or not. If they can win that game, then I think this could be their year for the Big 12.
Yeah, exactly. Let's start talking about Kansas, the K-State game in Kansas.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing about it, they started off really slow, Kansas did.
Yeah.
But they kind of got a jolt of energy from Lightfoot, even though he only had 9 points and I believe 5 rebounds. Let's see.
Yeah, he had 9 points and 5 rebounds.
Yeah, even though he had only that, every time he would score, it was like a spark for them. They really started focusing on some of the mismatches down low with Dedrick Lawson and Lightfoot, and that's when it started being able to stretch the floor a little bit and give them a little more space to play.
Yeah. Even when Lightfoot, he had those couple blocks there in a row, and that really sparked a fire with them. You can tell that the momentum was towards Kansas. But they did start off the game kind of like they were still at the Tech game, Kansas State got hot, but then I remember you said during the game that steal, changed the momentum, and it kind of did after that steal.
Yeah, which I believe Kansas, I'm pretty sure they started off 0 for 7 on the game, which at that point I kind of figured that was it for them. They were not going to win this game.
Oh, yeah.
And then Bill Self, he just did Bill Self things and changed the whole game around.
Yeah, I don't have the stat right now in front of me with K-State's inside the arc shooting percentage, but inside the three-point line, they were shooting horribly. They weren't getting any points in the paint. They were mainly just shooting up threes. They weren't executing on offense like they should have been. So
yeah, their 3-point, they were shooting 8 of 21 from 3-point, but only 18 of 57 on field goals all around, which put them at a 31% they were shooting 31% for field goals.
Yeah,
It
it
was-
was horrible. The only thing they could get up was some of those heaves up from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Which is the crazy thing too is that they only shot 5 free throws
oh, yeah.
the whole entire game. They were 5 for 5, but only 5 free throws. You got to get to the line more.
more. You got to penetrate, or at least penetrate, can kick out and get some of those more important threes.
Yeah.
So
Like Kansas had 19 free throw attempts and
Yes.
everything, so that's also a big factor too.
you saw them mainly penetrating the whole game, attacking the paint, and the K-State couldn't defend that at all. Every time they'd go into the paint, they would foul somebody. So
Yeah,
So Dedrick Lawson, I'd say he's the front runner for the Big 12 Player of the Year right now.
yes,
He's the transfer from Memphis, and he finished with 18 points and 14 rebounds, which was his 17th double-double on the year.
yeah.
and those rebounds are really big for the game today. They were controlling, even though I believe the rebounds were kind of close overall. Every time he had got a rebound, it kind of was controlling the flow of the game.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
of those 14 rebounds, 5 of them were offensive rebounds,
Yeah.
which really just
Second
that
chance
just
points, yeah.
cuts off Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas had 12 offensive rebounds compared to the 10 that Kansas had. That's still pretty close, but offensive rebounds can really help for getting, putbacks and everything and getting those extra points that you need.
Yeah. Kansas State's leading scorer only had 12 points, and that was the only person in double figures tonight.
Yeah, they just weren't getting it tonight, K-State.
The one thing that really helped Kansas is the getting Dean Wade in foul trouble early because I remember he had 2 fouls early and 0 points, and that really helped. And he ended up fouling out with only 8 points.
Oh, yeah.
And he only had 5 total rebounds. So they really stopped him. That helped them.
Yeah, after 2 fouls in the first half, you can't really play in the game too often. After that,
Yeah.
you got to pull somebody out just because it's always going to be a mess after that.
So I think next we should talk about, which I hate to talk about, but Golden State.
Yeah,
Their starters.
yeah,
Yeah, they scored. You want to tell them?
Was it 100? The starters scored 100 of the 121 total points.
Yes,
Yeah,
all
those-
5 starters,
Mhm.
which is it's crazy.
absolutely.
That was, let's see, what did they have? Green had 14 points, Durant had 20, Cousins had 24, Curry had 16, and Thompson had 26.
Yeah.
That's just,
So outrageous. But I also want to point out the one thing about that is also kind of shows how weak their bench is, though. I've never
Oh, yeah.
been impressed with Golden State's bench outside Iguodala. It can be a real handicap coming up this incoming NBA playoffs. So
yeah. I mean, Iguodala did play 24 minutes, which is a good amount for
Yeah.
off the bench, and he only scored 4 points
Yeah.
yeah,
and had 4 rebounds. So, I mean,
Which I think if one of those starters left for Golden State, they would have a huge problem
Yeah.
filling in their spot.
yeah, they're really top heavy on that team.
yes,
It helps a lot, but in the long run, it really helps to have a deep bench and everything to help you.
yeah. Well,
in the long
especially
games.
going into the playoffs, just because you have to rotate those minutes throughout the games, especially in a 7-game series.
Oh yeah.
And I really believe some of the teams coming out in the West this year can really put up a good fight against any of them and maybe win out this year. Just because I don't believe in the Warriors as much as I believe in other teams this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
So staying in the NBA, let's talk about James Harden and his streak coming to an end.
Yeah.
So he was up to 32 games where he scored 30 points or more. And tonight he finished with 28 points,
yeah,
which he had a chance at the end with about 7 or 8 seconds left in just garbage time. He had a chance
Yeah.
to go down, hit a layup, score 30 points.
but just
but
held the ball.
He just held the ball.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't you mention that he was 0 for 10
Yeah, he
from the 3-point line?
0
Yeah,
for
that's
10.
his bread and butter, So when he's not hitting that, it's rough for him.
Yeah, even though he scored, he still scored 28 points off of not making 1 3. It's still pretty impressive, but
Yeah, so 28 points total for James Harden, but off those 28 points, half of them were from free throws. He was 14 of 16 from free throw.
oh really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
which really, those are such easy points
Yep.
that I think that was his average. I think that was his average free throw amount of points from the free throw during the whole 32 game stretch.
Yeah, and if you look at all the memes, they're always hating on him because of how many free throws he gets per game. So,
yeah. But staying on that game, as much as we hate to talk about him, Trae Young had 36 points, and he was 8 of 12 from 3-point.
Yeah, 75%.
Yeah, that's
a pretty good night for Trae Young. Even though I never thought he could produce numbers like that in the NBA, but he's proven all of us wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And
we hate to admit that.
But still, we were watching a little bit, and he even said, Bryce did, that you saw quite a few of his teammates open. He still jacked up a three, and I love team ball, and he's not the greatest in that section, but
he showed.
OU sucks, but
he did show a lot of that while he was at OU. That's why I kind of went down because he had to do everything. And they realize, they still have a decent team, without him. So
yeah. Again, so staying in the NBA, right now it's the end of the third quarter in LA. It's between the Mavericks and the Clippers, and the Clippers are ahead 91-88.
And it was a close game.
Pretty close game.
Yeah. My boy Luka has 24 points starting in the third quarter in his first game back. And speaking of that game, my boy Luka Doncic has 24 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It's his first game back, after the All-Star break because he had that ankle little injury, and he's 7 for 10 on shooting and 4 for 5 from the 3-point line. So that's a good game for him to come back on.
But let's not forget about his great-great-grandfather, Dirk Nowitzki. Yes. He has 12 points. Yes. He's 2 for 6 from 3.
And he's played 21 minutes. He was a starter. So.
Yeah, he's 4 for 4 from free throw.
Yeah, so
yeah,
he's doing pretty good today. I mean, he's I think this is the second game he's got to start, and he's done pretty good. He's getting his feet back under him. I love to see it as a big Dirk fan.
Yeah, exactly.
See him doing well.
Yeah, especially on what people think is his going away party. We don't know yet because he hasn't said anything, but
it's not.
Everybody's giving him a lot of love from it.
He's staying in the league for 5 more years.
I think he'll stay for Kristaps and Luka and the third piece that they're going to get. Hopefully
we'll see about that.
It's Nikola from Orlando, the big man.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be impressive. I'm not the biggest Matt fan, but still.
I guess we can. Do you want to switch over to your team now?
Yeah, I'm a little biased because I'm a Boston Celtics fan. My grandpa was born and raised there, so Boston runs through my blood. But the Celtics did lose to the Bulls just a couple days ago. It's a terrible loss. Thinking they're the 5th seed and the Bulls are terrible. But yeah, the main thing that was going on there, a lot of those, everybody on the court's net ratings were absolutely horrible. I think Terry Rozier's was far into the negative numbers for net rating. The only person that I think came out positive was Kyrie Irving, and then every time he was off the floor, it was absolutely horrible. The main thing, though, take away, he actually said after the game that nobody can beat us in a 7-game series, even after that terrible loss against the Bulls. I want to hear what y'all have to think about that.
I think any team can beat just about any team in a 7-game series. It all depends on who plays well, who steps up, who takes control of the game.
Yeah, especially, I mean, with, the talent they have, like, Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum and everything, that they have some really good players, and even their, bench players, as I'm looking at it, Gordon Hayward and, Scary Terry and Jaylen Brown, they're all pretty good off the bench. They can really help them in a 7-game series. But like he said, I think anyone can win. Kind of going back to, the Dallas Mavericks run in 2011. No one really thought that they could go that far, but they just played well in every single game,
Just about who wants it more.
Speaking of that, Bryce doesn't like that term, but I think Landry does kind of have a point. I think a heart does come into play. Yeah, it's a bigger league, but still, you gotta have kind of a want to in the game to win. Like There's some games where actually a lot of games I've watched for the Bulls specifically that I haven't seen any get go under their butts because they really don't care anymore. I feel like a lot of games they remember in mid-year that they didn't even really show up to practice one day to have a meeting just because they were tired of what was going on. So
yeah, and also with all the experience that like the Celtics have with Kyrie Irving, a lot of that experience I think with being with the playoffs with LeBron. And even Jason Tatum, after just playing for 1 year and going deep in the playoffs, all that experience helps.
A lot of people overlook Al Horford. I think he's actually the biggest key piece of the Celtics because he's a veteran of the team. He knows more than just about anything. And especially these past 5 or so games, he's been going off. He's been around double-doubles every single game, and he's a defensive king out on the court. A lot of people just forget about Al Horford. He can just do just about anything on the floor and take control of a game. Yeah. Same with Marcus Smart. Even though OK State kind of guy, a lot of people have to hate on him just because OK State. But I still gotta love him for Marcus Smart. He's an energy and he's a little energy capsule on himself. But let's get on some other news from this.
So let's go ahead and I think we should transition to the MLB.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
To start off, let's just talk about Manny Machado's his contract for 10 years. $300 million.
It's a lot of money.
The biggest contract in American sports history. Yeah. But I did see somewhere that in the contract, after 5 years, he can opt out, which I'm sure he will take that.
I have a feeling after 5 years being with the Padres that I would want to get out too.
Leave too.
I don't know I could stay in 1 year with the Padres.
I don't know who would want to go to the Padres actually. So.
Maybe Bryce Harper.
I mean, if Machado's there, I mean,
where is Bryce Harper going to go? I did just see a while ago that he had a meeting with the Dodgers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing them in for like a short-term contract.
Yeah.
For like maybe a year or two.
Yeah, but Bryce Harper's kind of looking for a longer contract, so I don't really see that working out.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I could see him wanting from there is because Dodgers, they have a lot of power already on their own. They could definitely win a championship, but
and they have a lot of history.
Yeah, exactly, Robinson. But
the one thing about Bryce Harper though is that he kind of brings a lot of drama and everything, as you could tell with Washington, getting into a lot of fights with teammates and everything.
He wants to be the star player. He wants to be who everybody looks at.
Yeah, which will be kind of hard at LA because there's a lot of big names in LA.
So.
But I can see him going to the Phillies, which is, of course, the front runner for him right now. I can see him going to the I can see him going to the Dodgers, or not the Dodgers, the Giants, because they have interest in him right now. I can even see him staying with the Nationals.
What about Tony Romo, predicting his future, saying going to the Rangers, which I don't know if I would like that or not.
I can't see it, but
if it happens, it happens.
I mean, it would be kind of funny and kind of cool at the same time, but like Landry said, I just can't see it happening. It's a long shot, let's just say that.
I mean, he would be the guy there.
Okay.
One of the dark horses that I saw was the Yankees, which I don't know how they would have enough cap room with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge.
That'd be a home run hitting team right there.
Yeah, that'd be a World Series team right off the bat.
No doubt. Definitely probably another chip coming their way. Again, for me, I hate the Yankees because Red Sox, but gotta hate the Yankees. But I just don't see it happening because there's a lot of star power on the Yankees. The only thing that in the cap room again, and he wants to be that person like y'all pointed out, and it's just again, I think he would rather be on a team that's just for him. So
yeah.
I'd say let's transition to NCAA baseball.
Okay.
Throwing a little curveball there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how Texas Tech decided to put their foot down on Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
You know, with that series, the very first series with Oregon, we lost that first game, then had comebacks for all the other games. I was kind of worried because we have a lot of new players because obviously a lot of our guys got drafted or graduated, and so I didn't know how to feel. But that Kentucky series, made me feel good again, just because they, put their foot down on their throat, and especially that last game.
The final game, 19-4.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's look at the stats.
Yeah, Tech is definitely showing that they're still a force to be reckoned with. That all these young players are really something. So
that man, Tim Tadlock, he is doing something special. Okay.
Yeah, he's been pretty awesome for Tech. I like all the coaches we have in right now, and he's done really good. I think we could go back to the World Series again. But the one thing I was really, surprised with was all the depth we have with our pitchers, because we brought in a few pitchers there that haven't even played yet this whole year, and they came in and did a really good job.
So going back to the 19-4 beatdown on Kentucky. So Otrimba, he finished with 5 at-bats, 1 walk, 3 hits, 2 of which were home runs, and 7 RBIs.
Was that in the last game on Sunday?
That was against Kentucky in the 19-4 beatdown.
Yeah.
Total, Tech had 19 hits, 13 walks, only 8 strikeouts, but could have done so much better than 19 runs. They had 15 runners left on base.
Wow. Yeah, they definitely could have done a lot more with that.
And it also just shows that there's more room to grow and still put some beat down some other teams, So
yeah. There's only so much. There's only.
Hey, we get the passion. We love it.
Yeah,
So
sure do.
All right. Got anything else to talk about, guys?
I think that's good for today.
See you later, and catch us next time on 1534 Sports.